Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is the Alchemist Witch, and we're going to start this new journey. I have other videos that I've made on the channel under a different name, but today I'm starting a new, please ignore my guineas. I'm starting a new journey, embracing myself and who I am and what I bring into the world. So, and I feel that the beginning should be based on a thorough understanding of the self, because the self is the center of the universe of you, right? So the concept of the self, when you ask somebody who are you, and they say I am this, I am that, I'm always curious as to how did you know that? How did you know you were this or you were that? Who told you that? How did you recognize that? How did you figure that out? A lot of people have a strong sense of self. A lot of people have a weak sense of self. And the idea of self, nobody fully knows. Because the self, I say this, and this is how I best describe myself. I am all things and I am no thing. Because I'm everything and I'm nothing. Because I can be everything and at the same time be nothing all at the same time. Because the concept of self is you can't, and that's okay. So let me back up a little bit. Someone said something that I felt resonated deeply with me, and that was the reason why we're here on this earth, in this structured place, the reason why our spirits confines itself to an extent in a body to experience this structured environment is to find out who we are. Because you don't know who you are. And in the process of finding out who you are, you find out who God is. When you came into the world, you had no idea. You cried, and it's either you were held or you weren't. That moment of whether you were held or you weren't, your brain began to ascertain, okay, what is this place? What am I doing here? What is going on here? So whether you felt safe in that moment that you came out, and when you cried, you felt embraced, you felt loved, or when you came out and you cried and you were kept on the hard surface and you were crying there, didn't know what the hell was going on, that's what we call the rising sign in astrology. Whatever was rising on the horizon, eastern horizon, the moment you were born, that imprinted on your experience. So you already began, and then your brain began to map out a neural network immediately, right? Based on that unique experience. So it's very important that we understand the self, because the self doesn't really exist out here. Nothing out here can tell you about yourself. But that's what they do though. As soon as you're born, someone tells you, you are this, you're a girl, and so you should do this. You're a boy, and you should do this. Based on the culture that you're in, right? The American culture is different from my African culture. So depending on the culture you're in, they start telling you what you should do, how you should be, what you are, and what you're not, and this and that and the other. All that time you do not even have time to figure out who the hell am I. The society doesn't give you that time. That's why it's very important that you take the time out to figure out, because when you came out, you didn't come out as a blank slate. No, you came out to experience what another teacher called the field of experiences. And in the process of going through those field of experiences, you learn who you are. Like, how do you know you're allergic to something? You ate it and your body did not like it, and so reacted negatively, so you don't, okay, I'm not going to eat that peanut no more. You know that about yourself from experience. You cannot take what someone told you as an experience, what someone told you without experience that tested that. You cannot take that as information to define yourself unless you have first tested it. Let me give you an example here. And this is going to be me being honest. I don't think I've ever spoken this out loud ever. But when I was little, not little, when I was younger, I say, I went to a boarding school. And in that boarding school, there were a lot of, it was only all girls boarding school. So there was a lot of lesbianism there. And I got involved in it because there was a lot of it. I was never into guys at all. Because somehow I just always felt like I just was not into sex. It wasn't not something that my culture encouraged to begin with. And it wasn't something that, it was something I didn't understand. So I just, when I was little. But, not little, younger, like I said. But I got into lesbianism. And then as I got a bit older, like when I got out of high school, I thought, that don't make any sense. That does not make any sense. Like if I was to be into, this was me thinking this, if I was to be into women, right, I should have had a penis because it does not make any sense for two women to sexually engage. There was something about that that was not logical to me. That did not make any sense to me. So I decided at that time that I was going to be done with that. I wasn't even 20 years old. I think I was about 18, 19 at that time. I was going to be done with that because I didn't think that made sense. I didn't think that that was the direction my soul wanted me to go. At that time, I wasn't thinking it in terms of soul. I was just thinking it like in terms of logic. This makes no sense. And then I had my first male sexual encounter at that time just to prove to myself that I was not that. Okay, there was also the issue potentially of the fact that I grew up in a very not moral, but a very Christian environment, and that was against the Christian values we were taught. That could have also had something to do with it. But also then, I was going to, we were Catholics when I was younger. And I quit going to church because I did not think it made any sense for me to confess my sin to a priest. And the priest would tell me to do 5 Hail Marys and 7 Our Fathers and forgive. That just didn't make any sense to me because I was like, how? First of all, you are a man like me. How are you going to tell me what to do that as if you're God or some shit? So I stopped going to church. So when I was younger, there was all these ideas in my head. So I refused to be sucked into that whole thing because I didn't think that it was the direction my soul was going. I thought that if I was going to go towards women, I should have been born male. That's just what I thought because God doesn't make mistakes. There's a reason why the male and female are born. And I was always about, learning and doing what I feel serves my soul. So it's taken me years, but after that encounter with the females that I had encounters with, from my 20s, that has never been a part of me. But of course, it was imprinted in my subconscious, right? So I was always nervous about it. I was always like, people would ask me, do women hit on you or stuff? I don't know. There was something about me that gave up that vibe, but I never got into. I never did. But again, that goes back to us, experiencing life for ourselves and then choosing, okay, I'm this, I'm not that. I could have suppressed, let's just say that was what I was. And if I had not tested it by experience, I could have suppressed that part of myself and then have all this guilt and emotional, spiritual baggage back here. But that's not how I roll. Because I always, I'm so brutally honest with myself, I always bring everything out to the front. What is that experience? What is this? What is that? What is this? Because I like to test everything to know whether it's true or not. So anyway, long story short, it's very important that you ask yourself, where did I hear this truth or what I know about myself? Who told me that? Another example, I don't consider myself pretty because I don't see myself on the outside. I feel like I'm looking on the inside. I feel like my eyes is on the inside of myself. So I don't see my physicality per se. I have really good aesthetics because I have a son in Libra. So I really know how to put clothes together. That's something I'm passionate about, fashion and how to put clothes together. I enjoy that, and I can look in the mirror and I can see the aesthetics of what I'm hanging on this frame but I really don't have an attachment to the frame per se, right? So that is something I struggle with. And that also has helped me to understand that until I have a personal appraisal or come to the point where I can feel my physical body and look at it and have an appraisal value for it, I really do not know what I think about it. And I also do not allow anybody to tell me what I think about me, because I don't know. So you have to be careful where you get your concept of self from, because once you believe in it, it goes down to your seat of consciousness, and then from behind the scenes is directing your life. And if you're allowing something that you are not aware of to direct your life, you're in a place of disservice, because you don't even know what is creating the life that you have, because the life that you have is a reflection of what you believe. It can't be any different. As above, so below. It can't be any different. So the concept of self is something I'm gonna do a series of videos on to help you to get to where you can have some kind of grip on, okay, who am I? How do I function? How do I see? How do I hear? Because if you understand how you hear, specifically, then you can understand the limitations of how you hear. Because you hear a certain way, you see a certain way. It's not all the ways that there is to see or hear, but it's how you see or hear. So once you know how you see or hear, then you can figure out the weaknesses and the flaws in that, right? So you can then begin to learn how to hear in ways that you don't naturally hear in. Does that make sense? It's complex. Someone called it organized complexity. It's complex, but it's organized. So we're going to talk more about the self, but this is it for right now. And I hope you guys have a good day. Okay, bye.